conversation and suggestions. And what we're hoping to do is take a few minutes to hear from anyone who wants to share anything that came up or any ideas that were generated at your table in response to our questions. And we have the diagram up. Let me go back one. The diagram that you were looking at didn't have all the contoured lines, and so there was a good question about like, oh, what's on this side of the road? And if you look at this, it's a sheer wall on one side of the road. So this might give a little more detail as you consider some of the ideas that we hear. So if we can just spend a few minutes, go around the room. Anyone wants to share anything that came up or any interesting observations?
So I'll make a comment on my sheet. I think one of the good things that, one of the things I thought was interesting is to do some tree management on either side of the road. There's an argument for the summer wildfire issues, but somebody's parked there trying to get out. But it would provide the snow blowing up, creating the berms that would allow that without too much issue. You're not going to get trees falling over from the snow load as often, So take all the poles out, all the pole trees out, the understory. And the other thing with, I think it was Miguel here, we talked about, okay, if you don't have a trailer, you have a snowmobile, and you can snag at a different spot, great. But you have some room to get up on that berm and travel down to your trailhead. So maybe it doesn't ban snowmobiles from using all the parking. It just the trailers can only go so far. So, but I think that tree thinning wouldn't be a huge cost to the program or to the project. So that was a good idea.
Suggestion. Yeah. All right. Let's go around the room. Anyone over here? Anyone want to weigh in? Jonathan, your table?
I threw out something that,
Yeah.
another benefit that we talked about to the tree trimming is you get more sun on the road to melt stuff out during the winter.
Yeah.
So you can sort of be aware of your sun exposure on your roads to maximize the sun for melting the
Artificial
snow.
snow removal.
Yeah.
But the other is, where does that melted stuff go in the winter so that you don't create an ice sheet is, I don't know if it's possible to add slit drains or gravel drains along the edges, someplace for the water to go and not freeze.
Yeah, drainage is a big part.
Excellent. How about the back table? Anything you want to share?
It's going to be tough. We've already talked about it. Anyone who's going to be working on this, specifically tearing up this ground, they better have a whole lot of experience. There's only a few contractors up here that can probably work in that steep environment to move that amount of dirt, because you're not going to be able to do a lot of cut here. It's going to be mostly filled due to the granite slabs in the ground. So you're going to need someone experienced. You're going to be paying a little bit more to have like a granite, a Tiger, or someone come in here and do that work. So you're going to want to have someone who knows what they're doing. Just don't take the lowest bid. That's going to be the worst thing you can possibly do. So I would hire someone who's local, who knows this area, and knows how to work up here.
We talked about an experience clause, right? Putting in there, like you have to have so many projects, examples that you can do, so that type of work in that area. Yeah.
Good suggestion for down the road. All right. Okay.
So more of a question. Why are you paving everything versus gravel?
Wow.
So why is plowing a problem on gravel?
So what we're seeing at least.
I have a gravel driveway and we blow it all year long.
Yeah.
We're all on one year long.
What we're seeing in places even like Van Norden is the recycled gravel and thing that gets put on every year.
Yeah.
And the plowing that happens actually pushes a lot more
Yeah.
material into the waterways than pavement
Okay.
would. So
Okay.
it's
That's a
actually a
good
more
point.
environmentally driven,
Yeah, okay, good.
Another part of that is soil erosion. So you're trying to buttress up everything here so that the soil that you're bringing in doesn't get washed out with the snow.
Yeah.
So there's going to be a lot more work just on being able to buttress or to put in retaining walls on that low side and keep that soil in.
Okay. Very good. We'll come over to this table in the back. Anything you want to add?
I think the main thing we were talking about is on the left side, there's no kind of good loop there.
Circle back.
Yeah, and that could just cause a lot of traffic issues, and that was sort of one of our main
some way to connect that or make some continuity in there. Okay. Good suggestion. We heard that comment earlier on. Yeah.
Can I get a show of hands? How many of you guys would be willing to get up parking stalls in order to create a turnaround?
So would you give up a parking stall to create more turn?
Oh, at the end there?
Yeah, would you give up parking, because we're trying to maximize parking.
Yeah.
So would you be willing to give up parking stalls so that there was a turn? It would not be a trailer turnaround, just put it like cars. It'd just be cars.
What would happen if you tilted the design like this?
There's constraints on either side of that.
But I mean in the same footprint, we put it.
There's
45
constraints on
degrees
either side of that.
Either
But you just
side.
filled in between both of those parking lots and made the whole thing parking.
Well, that's getting at parking spots.
Yeah,
That's
that's
what
what
it's asking.
Yeah. So you'd have to get rid of this top to have like a turnaround in here. And probably some in here as well.
But you have enough room, it looks like, at the back out, basically with a three-point turn. So it's not
That's-
necessary, I'd rather have the spots.
Well, I think it's about flow, not necessarily just spots. Like, how are people getting in and out of a parking lot, not just how many people can we jam into a parking lot. That creates a lot more traffic and a lot more problems if you just have extra spots where people can't
It
head out.
looks like from their dimensions that there's actually plenty of space to be able to turn around
That's
and out
18
of
feet
each
wide.
spot.
Yeah, but
As
people
long as
have
you don't
huge
have a
cars
trailer.
here.
Yeah, they're 18 feet, they're really large spots, and there's enough room based on the tracking software to pull in, back out, 2 lanes for people to access their.
In summer, maybe, but what about in winter?
Yeah, in winter, it definitely, the marked spots become, just sort of whatever happens, happens.
So I mean, you might be able to play around with some of the modeling there and look at some options and see if there's some more ways to make that turnaround easier.
But it sounds like-
Losing
yeah.
spaces. So
So,
hear that.
something that I saw, if you're exiting the parking lot, it's directional, you go right up and around the parking area to the truck parking before the trailer parking. There's no way to go through that loop and then re-enter, so you're back into that other lane.
Yeah, we heard that comment earlier, and
Yeah.
that's definitely captured, so.
Yeah.
Good point. All right, well, let's keep coming around the room. Anything more you wanted to add on the back table? Yes, sir.
I work here at Boreal. What is your management idea for snow play? Because this thing's gonna get, Saturday it's gonna just be full. And that's something that it's gonna ruin your backcountry. And, you're gonna get plastic sleds, you're gonna get garbage, you're gonna get all the stuff that we have down in the snow park on Castle Peak, and that's a big concern. And, I mean, protecting the waterways and all that stuff, we're gonna put all that stuff back in it. We pick up a dumpster a year of just sleds. And then we go out to if you guys walk out to where they sled past the snow park, you'll see piles and piles of them. They don't follow signs and they don't listen. I hate to put them in that bucket, but it's a problem that we face here a lot. And this is just gonna put them up a steep road. If there's anything on it, it's gonna just trap everybody up there again. And that's a big concern.
Well, I think the Forest Service hears that concern loud and clear. There's definitely some management-related issues that are separate from just the design of the parking that are going to have to be addressed through the next step of the process. So for sure, things will have to be discussed and proposed. So thanks for that observation. Let's come forward at this middle table. Yes.
Restate your turnaround.
Well, they just talked about what re-emphasized.
What?
He did, just now.
So the turnaround, I'm hearing.
Going both directions, so entering the parking lot and exiting to go back into the parking lot. So if you were coming up the hill and your snow play, when I pull my gun out and tell them that they can't come up, they need a spot to turn around. So turning around before the parking lot they even get in there to realize they're in the wrong place and they need to go back home.
One of the things we talked about, and we're kind of comparing this to Little Trucking Summit that becomes a real mess. If you look at the the area where we're talking about possibly doing a turnaround, possibly losing some space, on the inside of both of those drive-ins, there's parking spots. If people try parking like they do at Little Truckee Summit, they're going to go in, let's say they go in on that leftmost side, and they're going to pull through, and they're going to block both.
We have,
Is there an idea for a barrier? Okay.
yeah, we talked about that, like a barrier that someone could still snow plow around, so working through that kind of fine-tuned barrier.
And that same thing would be
Something small.
in the middle of the big loop as well.
Yes.
Where you have the trailer parking and the car or the truck parking on the opposite side.
Yeah,
Otherwise, they just do whatever the heck they want.
yeah, we definitely talked through that for sure. That was something that came up in our last meeting. One other thing I wanted to talk about, remember how you were saying, well, what if you park over here? How do I get my sled out there without tracking the road? Is this feasible to back into the unloading zone or like unload here and then circle back
They
around
will
and
unload
come?
from their parking spot.
Two dudes already took your parking place that was left over there.
There's
Like,
one
you
more.
know,
There's too much stuff to do with the sled, you have to warm it up, you
Okay.
have to put stuff in it, so it's just not gonna happen, they're gonna unload where they park.
Yeah, they're gonna unload where they park and they're gonna leave their ramps out.
Is there gonna be an elevation change between trailer parking and the double-sided truck parking on that circle?
I don't believe so.
No, these run straight to us. Super flat.
Part of that, when I asked that question earlier, again, was kind of thinking about Little Truckee Summit. There is a spot where there's a big parking lot, and then there's the road, the 07 road, and on the side of the 07 road, they keep snow on it, so that when you unload, either on the side of that road or in the parking lot, you can pop onto that, run all the way down to the entrance of Jackson Meadows Road, and then go that way without blocking the traffic flow with your snowmobiles and things.
Yeah, and it's so steep on this side, and then we've got wetlands on the other side and other parking spots on that side. So we could give up those parking spots in winter to keep a berm, potentially. Yeah, on the other side, yeah.
So Teresa, you drew in where you heard the desire for
Yep, just
access.
trying to document and make sure we're all in line with
Is there, I know when you get up to places like Mount Baker and things like that, they say once you have 12 inches of snow, they're not as worried about impact on the soil. I haven't seen scientific studies that back that up, but using that as an example, where that green wetland piece is, if there's a certain depth of snow there, can that then be the area that those snowmobiles go across?
Yeah, we were just talking about that, and I think if there was enough snow and we forfeited the additional parking over there, that people could traverse over snow on top of the wetlands. I think you'd need more than a foot, but I think that's possible. But then could you still get across to the loading zone? Because you still have to cross, but I guess it's less impact. I think that's what we were just wondering, is to get from here over to here, you would still be on the road somehow.
How much of a grade, because I see the wavy lines on the turnaround, right? The inside turnaround for the trailers. So how much of a steep grade is that?
So we would be changing the grade there by bringing in material to flat that area entirely out, yeah.
Well, could you bring it, that road, that access road, line it up, like say, another 4 feet for a snowmobile path, a designated snowmobile path, to get from those northern parking spots to the trailhead?
Widen the road?
Yeah, widen the road.
Which, that
Yeah, on
side?
that side, yeah.
We couldn't widen the road, but we could allow potentially over snow. We'd have to talk about that, but potentially that could be accommodated. But then still, where would it get you? Then you pick back up on the
No,
road.
I think he's saying riding over here, and now you have a snowmobile path to be able to access where the existing.
I see.
And it doesn't have to be level. It'd be the same route, just a little bit wider, or, and then just keep snow on it.
I want to emphasize the important thing on your sheet is that even if you don't have the answer, you're not hearing an answer from us, if you could just help us by writing the question down.
Yeah.
Because I don't expect any of this to be answered fully today, but at least if you could help us remember that that question does need to get addressed, that'd be great.
Thank you, John.
Let's come forward. Any other questions? Yes.
Well, in the summertime, like Alicia's work down on Van Orden, if you don't put up boulders adjacent to a road, people will try and park as right there, and that tire track off a road, whether it's paved or unpaved, just starts destroying everything. So what are you going to do for summertime to keep people on the pavement, at least up to a point, that it doesn't keep deteriorating? But you still have to then, if you put boulders or bollards, you still have to be able to keep.
So delineating the space.
Yeah, you still have to be able, if you're gonna have snow removal, to not impede future winter snow removal. So it's a challenge.
That's a good suggestion for a design element, that like these boulders put in the perfect place will prevent that.
Yeah,
Ideally.
the nice thing is we have some boulders. So.
Yeah, to work with. Some material to work with. All right. Coming up, we heard some ideas from this table. Anything else that hadn't been suggested? All right. Sir, you have anything? Okay. Coming over here, Michelle.
One more question.
Okay, hold on. Nothing? Okay, we're good. All right.
Sorry. One more thing that we asked about too was the road on the right that would be coming in. 10% grade. You have a truck pulling a snowmobile trailer. It's having trouble getting uphill. It starts to slide downhill, and it ends up jackknifing.
Right. Blocks the path.
Now we have all these people up here who are trapped. Is there any discussion? And I'm trying to keep it on the design piece of it, not the management piece of it, but on the design piece of it, how do we deal with that when we end up getting somebody who might not be as experienced and they end up jackknifing their trailer in there?
Yeah, it's a real good concern, or legitimate concern, the long road there to get in. Sure wouldn't want to be leaving 100 people stranded, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, has there been any discussion on that point, or?
I'll just say, if we want a trailhead in here, we're gonna have to deal with this steep entry. There's no additional run to accommodate a temper of this rise. There's no other space, so it's not ideal. We've been able to tamp it down as much as we can, given the amount of space. And, you know, accidents happen, and that's terrible, and things get addressed in a timely fashion. Typically, people aren't stranded for very long.
Is there
Let
anything?
me ask this tough question. We can get rid of trailer jackknifing by getting rid of trailers. And we just go to this is a sled deck trailhead. Is that the trade-off we want?
I think we'll still have accidents along the road.
I mean, it is what it is. It's going to have accidents. It's called community roads, four-wheel drives, and people power to help each other out. People want to help each other out. Shit happens, let's help each other deal with it, no matter what. Otherwise, we can't do anything.
We've done it before, we've helped people pull out.
I'm trying to probe an emotional
No,
response.
it's a fair question, Jonathan, and also referring earlier to the potential shed that might have snow removal. Potentially, there could be something that's stationed above that would be able to come down the road and yank that person straight and back them uphill or something like that. Like some things there to think about as well as far as the design and management.
Is there anything you could do with the road surface, like have a higher traction surface or something that's, horizontal ridges or on contour ridges or something like that?
What is the, is it regular asphalt that is gonna go in? You said it was a special. Okay.
All right.
Quick question on the design side. So I think that would be, do we know what the risk is of a 10% grade and this kind of activity?
10% grade is within county standards and within Caltrans standards.
Right, what's the probability? Right, I mean, that might be if it's a higher probability, it's more of a concern. If it's twice a season, it's manageable, I guess, if it's every weekend, that's gonna be a real nightmare.
I think this is the community to ask, right? We have people that work snowmobiles. We have people that work snow plows. Like, how do you guys feel this is, how big of a concern is it? Again, Jonathan's probing for emotions, but that is the trade-off. We either have a steep grade or we don't have grades.
I think people will learn who aren't experienced towing trailers, and maybe if this is not their parking spot, and they're going to a different trailhead, it's gonna happen. There's gonna be accidents. If it snows, it's gonna happen all weekend.
So that's just in the essence of time, clearly been documented as an issue, and it definitely needs to be addressed in the management with some serious education when this site were finished, probably some public awareness campaign around this. So, and then people will help out if it's needed. So I think that's the reality.
Just have one final thing.
Yeah, I wanna wrap up,
If
yeah.
it wasn't in the standards, so if it wasn't in Caltrans and county standards up to 10, like that's an acceptable range. It's a high range,
Oh, I
but
understand
it's
that,
not beyond.
Yeah.
Caltrans is actually 14%.
14.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
It's-
So, could be worse.
Okay.
But, they're not always dealing with snow.
Right.
So that's.
Good sign as well.
So, final observation, Jonathan?
For the round part of the loop, it doesn't look like there are boulders in there. Is there some other constraint where there could be extra parking, or there wouldn't be extra parking in there?
You're talking about here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have stormwater in there.
Okay.
And it's a pretty primary drainage path, so we have to maintain the drainage there.
All right. So I want to emphasize some great comments and suggestions. Please, if you have time tonight, leave them on the worksheet. There's a box on the table out there. When you leave, you can drop your worksheets there. You can also think about this more and use the comment form through the website, which we'll show what that website is. It's the South Yuba website.
YubaRiver.org.
Yeah, so we'll get to that. So let's go into the last few slides here. We'll be wrapping up real shortly here. Okay, so there's your website, the YubaRiver.org projects. You'll see Castle Peak. These same questions are there. The diagram's there. You can download it. If anyone's drawn on these diagrams, anything that they think's of value to the project team, please drop it in the box there as well. Any notes that are helpful at this point? And if you didn't sign up on your way in, please put your email legibly. We want to make sure you're on the project mailing list. Again, I said July 1st is the deadline for comments there. And then, Jonathan, you want to say anything in terms of next steps or wrap up here?
We're engaged. I mean, it's a really complicated project, so that's why we're taking this opportunity to engage with you twice now, solicit your feedback. This doesn't replace NEPA, so there will be a secondary official scoping opportunity to get feedback from that process. If we don't have any extraordinary circumstances and we feel like we've got a good path forward, this project could be a categorical exclusion. If we have a high level of controversy, we think we need to develop alternatives, then we would need to do an EA or an EIS. That's kind of where we are in NEPA. I hope folks are feeling like, at least on the motorized side, I want to make something really clear. I hope you all are feeling like we are really invested in this activity. There were some early comments early on that they thought that we were trying to get away with something, quite honestly, that we were trying to build a trailhead that wasn't really responding to the user group's need. I hope what you heard tonight that that's not the case. We are really trying to create a product, create a site here that responds to this group. And winter is the toughest use pattern. So anyway, just really appreciate you guys being engaged. That's it. Thanks.
All right. Well, thanks to everyone. Appreciate you coming out tonight. And we'll be sticking around to clean up a little bit. If anyone wants to have some conversation, you're welcome to stay. Otherwise, finish up the worksheets. Take some extra worksheets if you know friends that you want to pass it around. And then again, online, same way you can provide input, go to the yubariver.org website. All right? Thanks a lot.